Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, The Rebirth Era. This is your girl Chantel and I'm so excited to be back. So as you can see, this video is about my pregnancy journey from plant-based to basically animal-based. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. And of course, if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes here. I wanna make sure that I document this as accurately and thoroughly as I can, and I definitely don't wanna leave anything out, okay? So prior to pregnancy, I was plant-based for about 10 years. And I would say majority of those years was actually more vegan, vegetarian. I did in a period in there I was completely vegan and I was actually mostly raw. I had lost like 70, 80 pounds. I don't know the exact because I was not weighing myself, but a significant amount of weight. And I was feeling good, I was exercising, and everything was great. And then when I got with my now husband, he was more pescatarian, and I ain't gonna lie, that fish was looking good at times. So I did add some seafood back into my diet as well. So I would say for the few years before I got pregnant, I was more pescatarian, but we still did vegan meals, vegetarian things, as well as some fish, shellfish, seafoods, things like that. So all was fine and dandy, right? And then I got pregnant. First trimester, I was hungry, eating all the time. I was still plant-based, pescatarian, doing fine. It was when I got to the second trimester and I got hit with intense beef cravings. Like I was craving burgers, beef stew, any kind of beef really. And the funny part is, like, before then I had not eaten any kind of red meat for like 10 years. So I was so distraught. I was like in my mind, and within the pregnancy emotions and things at that time, like I felt like I was failing myself. My iron levels were fine. So it's not like I was iron deficient or anything like that. It was just, I was craving it hard. Nothing sounded good. I couldn't eat because other foods were just not doing it for me. Like my husband would get a little frustrated. He'd ask me, well, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, I'd be super hungry, but nothing vegetarian or vegan sounded appetizing. All I wanted was some meat. So in those moments, he kind of learned that one of my safe foods was like those little cutie mandarins. So he'd peel one for me so I could eat it and like not cry. So I talked to my doula about that. I talked to my mom, my husband, and I was just like, I don't know what to do, y'all. Like I even allowed myself to have some turkey. So turkey sandwiches with like mustard and Swiss cheese was a thing too, but it still was not like hitting that spot for that craving. And my doula was like, well, it's normal in pregnancy for women to crave beef or meat of any kind, especially if you were plant-based prior to, and it's okay to indulge. And that a lot of times women go back to that plant-based eating after the pregnancy is done, right? So with a lot of soul searching, and then I even spoke to my mom. My mom was, of course, like, girl, your body is craving the meat because you need it, so go eat it. Like there was not much of a conversation or debate. My mom was just like, go eat it. So, and my husband was like, hey, if this is what you need, you're growing our son, and do it. So I had the support of like my 3 favorite people in the world, and so I decided to have some beef. So my first thing, and I'll remember it clearly, was some beef stew from the Ethiopian restaurant in Atlanta. And when I tell you I ate that beef stew and all of my worries just vanished. See, I'm stuttering now, but like it hit that craving to like it was the best I've ever felt. And from then, I was eating more meat. So turkey, beef, still eating fish. I could not stomach crab legs, which, if you know me, like I love crab legs, but I could not eat it. Like I ate it once during my first trimester and I could not eat it. So that was not a thing. But beef, turkey, and fish, those were my go-tos. And another thing I ate, this is kind of off topic, but it was a Haitian like fish dish with that was probably the best thing I ate during my pregnancy. Like, so I wasn't craving too much junk. I was more so craving meat. I actually ended up eating out a lot during pregnancy and postpartum. I'm gonna get into postpartum, but I ended up eating out a lot. What saved me kind of during pregnancy, I really didn't gain much weight, was the fact that I couldn't eat that much. So I'd be super duper hungry, but could probably eat maybe a fistful size of food, and then I'd be super full. So, you know, eating out a lot, it did not present itself then. I had a fairly uneventful pregnancy. I did end up delivering early, but there was no specific cause or anything like that. I was pretty much healthy. My baby was just ready to come, I guess. But I ended up eating out a lot when it came to the meat because I had no idea how to prepare meat. I didn't know how to cook it. And to be honest, like, cooking it still seemed kind of gross in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't want to touch raw meat. I just wanted to eat the finished product. And that's what I did. I ate it at first with guilt, and then it became guilt-free. So fast forward, had the baby. And so now I'm expecting, like, okay, my meat cravings and all that stuff will go away. No, it did not. If anything, it got stronger post-pregnancy. I was craving, especially beef. I don't know what it is about beef, but I was craving beef like crazy. So we definitely ate out a lot. There was a lot that happened because my son was in the NICU. So this is like the latter ends of COVID. And so yeah, we ate out a lot, long story short. So it was a lot of meat eaten out. And because of that, you know, a little bit of depression mixed in there, I gained more weight in postpartum than I did throughout my entire pregnancy. I think my pregnancy, I gained maybe 10 pounds, but in postpartum, I gained like almost 50. So part of that was definitely eating. Part of it was my hormones. I was breastfeeding, more so pumping like around the clock and things like that. So I was doing what I could control, was pumping, and then when it came to the food, I was just not completely present with that. So yeah, I will say that I expected the cravings to go away, but they got stronger, and because of what I learned throughout my pregnancy, I just honored that fact and just leaned into it and focused on, you know, getting my baby home and pumping for him so that he could have the breast milk that he needs to get stronger and get out of the NICU, right? So postpartum, like I said, I gained like about 50 pounds, and it didn't really hit me until months after my baby came home. In postpartum, I was eating meat, but I did not know how to prepare it. So we were eating out a lot. And that was not the healthiest option because that caused me to gain a lot of weight. So I wish I kind of knew then what I knew now and how to prepare these foods healthfully and just on my own, and I definitely would not have gained as much as I did. But this is why I kind of, this is why I've created this channel and why I've created Reborn in Motherhood, because there are things that I wish I knew then that I didn't know. And so now I'm having to do the work to kind of come home to myself and also just choose who I'm going to be moving forward. But with getting healthier and exercising and with knowing how to prepare meat dishes and things so that I would not have gained as much as I did, but I still felt nourished and full. So yeah, like, I don't regret it at all. If you would have told me 10 years ago or even 5 years ago that, hey, you're gonna be eating a lot of meat and you're gonna love it, I would have looked at you like you was crazy. Because how? Like, I was plant-based. I wouldn't say vegan because I didn't do it for the animals, and I know people can be a little touchy about that, but I was plant-based, so I didn't care to be eating the animals and different kinds of animals and whatnot. But now I'm like, past the beef, past the lamb, past the eggs, and I feel stronger than I ever have. I feel more grounded. I feel more satiated, and that's a biggie, because I do know that when I was plant-based, I was hungry quite a bit, and only if I was fasting a lot was I not as hungry. And then I also was bloated and gassy a lot. And that's not something I experience as much now with eating more animal-based. So when I say animal-based, that means I do focus more on proteins and fats, and I do prepare them myself, but I also do eat some fruit and some vegetables as well. I'm kind of moving away from certain vegetables just because I've noticed that they do make me gassy and bloated. So I'm leaning into an experiment. I'm possibly thinking about doing a carnivore experiment within my body just to see how I feel. But I do know that I feel a lot better with eating more animal proteins and fats. I do feel more satiated. I feel stronger in my workouts, and I'm also able to fast for longer without thinking about it too much. So fasting before, it felt very restrictive, and it felt like I needed to lean on God, like I needed more of a spiritual practice to get through it. But now sometimes I don't realize, like, oh, okay, I haven't really eaten, or, you know, I tend to fast because I love fasting. I like to live more of a fasted lifestyle. So it's just a lot easier to do with animal-based products than it is just being plant-based. So saying all this to say, I don't believe that there's a one size fits all. So even with my business, Reborn in Motherhood, I do lean more into animal-based nutrition. However, I do understand that, you know, animal products are not for everyone. I do believe that they are for the majority of us, but there are those of us who thrive on more plant-based eating and they feel horrible with animal products. Like, all of our biochemistries are different, and so I think you need to lean into more of what works best for you, as opposed to working yourself up or trying to worry about what's best for someone else. I mean, unless that's your child or something, you know, that's a different story. But if it's you, you have to do what's best for you. I encourage people to, you know, if you don't have any like major health ailments or on any crazy medications, to just experiment and see what feels good for you. I don't think we should fall into any kind of dogmatic thinking, whether it's carnivore or vegan or alkaline or, you know, raw foods or anything. I just think you should kind of keep an open mind. And, you know, sometimes what you think will work best is maybe just best for that season. And it's not something that's meant to be done every single day for the rest of your life. So just take it day by day, step by step, and just, like I said, do what's best for you. So now I would say I'm heavily more into animal-based eating, and then at least for the foreseeable future, I don't really see myself going back to plant-based. I'm happier now. I don't feel as restricted. I feel fuller, like I said before, and also my weight is dropping effortlessly. Like, I did fruit cleanses in the past. Like, I did 2 30-day fruit cleanses in one day, and I had headaches, insomnia at times, unstable emotions. Like, I was crying and like, just, you know, it was tough. But, you know, in that moment, it's like, okay, no, my body is detoxing and cleansing, which it partially was. But I was also like bloated, gassy, and I also had episodes of like low blood pressure, things like that. So it had its benefits, and it definitely did serve me at the time. But I more than likely would not do something like that again, just because I do feel more steady when I have more fats and proteins. That's just what it is, and that's what works best for me. And a lot of people that I've worked with, spoken to, and things like that are also coming into that realization for themselves. So I'm a big advocate. Do what's best for you, okay? Don't look to everybody on YouTube and it's like, okay, I need to do exactly that. Just experiment. Like, it does not have to be, because there's people out there who's like all or nothing. It does not have to be that way for the majority of us. Those are usually the minority of people. It does not have to be that way. You can choose. You can be like, hey, I'm majority plant-based, but I might eat some fish and maybe a piece of steak, you know, once every quarter or something, or vice versa. I'm carnivore, but I like to have a handful of berries, or this. Like, you find and, you know, do what's best for you. It's just people out here sharing their own stories and what's best for them, but they've also experimented and found out what was best for them. So just take that, you know, in stride, and don't come for me in the comments either. Like, just be you. You know, I know people can be very touchy about going from being vegan or plant-based to you know, animal-based and stuff like that, but you know, it's it's something that human beings have been doing for an incredibly long time, and it's not anything new. If anything, veganism is much newer than people eating animals. And yes, animals do have thoughts and feelings and things, but you know, those things were put here for us as humans. And you know, one cow can feed like 2 families for a whole year. So you know, when you're engaging in meat practices and things like that, it's best to be sustainable. You know, try to get stuff without antibiotics. Grass-fed, of course, is best. I do mix of like grass-fed and just the regular beef just for taste. The regular beef has a different taste and it's just way yummier at times. But you know, you just gotta do what's best for you. So there's things that I've figured out along this journey as well. So if you guys want to hear more about my animal-based journey and what that looks like, or even just sharing, like if I do decide to do a 30-day carnivore challenge or things like that, just drop it in the comments and let me know what you would like to see or what more content you would like to see from me. So saying all that to say, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Bye bye.